The house lights dim, and the room settles into the peculiar hush that comes just before a performance. The moderator reminds everyone of the rules. 2 opening statements, timed rebuttals. No interruptions. On one side, a weary biology professor with a stack of notes and a thumb drive of slides. On the other, a genial man with a quick smile and a pastor's cadence. He carries no notes, just a pocket full of one-liners and a heart full of certainty. When the timer starts, the room learns why debates like this so often go sideways. He gallops. The first claim races out. There are no transitional fossils. Before the biologist can protest with Archaeopteryx and Tiktaalik, the next arrives. The second law of thermodynamics disproves evolution. Then a meteorite dating anecdote, the old, if humans came from apes, why are apes still here? A burst about gaps in the Cambrian, and a quip about the human eye that lands like a punchline. Each claim is a seed of doubt. The sheer number is the rain. You can feel the audience tilt. So many problems, so little time. Eugenie Scott, the long-time defender of science education, once watched a version of this sprint and gave it a name, the Gish Gallop, after Duane Gish, the biochemist turned creationist who spent decades barnstorming campus auditoriums, church gyms and civic halls. Gish didn't win in court. Judges in cases from Edwards v. Aguilard to Kitzmiller v. Dover have been blunt about creationism's lack of scientific merit. But in the hall, under lights and a clock, he won often. His opponent had to shut up while he galloped along. Scott said, spewing forth torrents of error no one could refute within the format. You don't need to know the difference between radiocarbon and uranium-lead dating to feel the asymmetry. One side can throw 20 claims in 10 minutes. The other needs 10 minutes for one careful explanation. The gallop is theatre, a spectacle of confident certainty that seems to push the burden of proof back onto the scientist. If your theory is so strong, why can't you swat these flies? Science, done properly, is slow. It rewards doubt. It corrects itself in public. Those virtues become liabilities on a stage built for speed. The biologist leans toward precision. It's 4.54 billion years, not about 5 billion. Evolution is descent with modification, not survival of the fittest, which will be misquoted later. He wants to establish definitions. She wants to cue a laugh. The clock punishes care and rewards momentum. And there's something else at work in the room. Creationist debaters seldom open with equations. They open with characters. A child at a creek, wondering how the rocks got so smooth. A school system silencing dissent. A humble man of faith standing up to the establishment. A story has a protagonist, a conflict, a resolution. It's easy to follow, easy to root for. Our brains are wired for this. Narratives light up regions of emotion and memory far more readily than a table of isotope decay rates. Experiments on persuasion show that a single, vivid, identifiable example outpulls a dozen statistics. In a debate, that advantage compounds. The storyteller controls the frame and recruits the audience into the plot. Consider a night in 2014 when Bill Nye debated Ken Ham at the Creation Museum. Nye had facts, models, timelines. Ham had a frame. Historical science versus observational science. Were you there? He turned an epistemological confusion into a story about 2 kinds of knowledge, and in exit interviews, some attendees echoed the line almost verbatim. The polls on public belief haven't moved much. Gallup has tracked a stubborn minority of Americans holding young Earth views for decades, but the performance still mattered. It energized donors, recruited followers, and claimed legitimacy. In a hall, you don't need to convert the opposition. You need only to reassure your side and give the undecided something memorable to repeat. The Gallup works because debates aren't peer review, they're pageantry. Formats that force symmetrical time but asymmetric complexity tilt toward entertainers. Rapid-fire claims require rapid-fire detection, not deep refutation. By the time you explain that the second law applies to closed systems, and that the Earth isn't one, that the sun's energy drives local decreases in entropy, the room is bored. By the time you show how paleontologists predict the strata a transitional fossil should appear in, and then find it, Tiktaalik in Devonian Age rock on Ellesmere Island, the audience remembers the earlier joke about the eye. In Texas, Duane Gish's colleagues at the Institute for Creation Research once tried to win a different stage, accreditation for a master's program in science education. In the courtroom, the story failed. A judge called their arguments verbose, disjointed, incoherent, and the legal record, unlike a debate, demands citations, cross-examination, the line-by-line discipline Gish avoided under the lights. It's telling. Courts and journals are built to reward accuracy. Auditoriums reward affect. So what can the scientist do in a hall designed for theatre? Change the script. First, preempt the gallop. Go first if you can, define the terms, and frame the evening around techniques rather than claims. Tonight you will hear 5 tactics common to science denial: cherry-picking, fake experts, impossible standards, conspiracy, and logical fallacies. I'll flag each when it appears. When the first no transitional fossils line drops, don't dive into a catalogue. Label the tactic. Then pick one example you can articulate in 90 seconds and close the loop. Prediction, search, find. That's how science works. Second, tell your own story, not a memoir, an arc. Science has protagonists too. Scientists predicting an organism's anatomy from a gap in the record. A geologist hiking to a specific formation because the model says the rock must be that age. A lab team betting their reputations on a falsifiable forecast. Give the audience a scene to inhabit. Show a photo. The Arctic scrub where Tiktaalik surfaced. The notebook sketch. The core sample. Make them feel the method. Third, inoculate. Let the audience in on the trick. You'll hear 20 points in 10 minutes. If even one sticks, you might feel that science is in trouble. That's the illusion. Complexity takes time. So judge us both by one standard: prediction and evidence. Studies suggest that teaching people the structure of misinformation blunts its impact. You don't need a monograph. A 20-second preview can chisel away at the Gallup's advantage. Fourth, debate the method, not the motive. Creationist gallopers often bait with culture war cues. Sidestep them. Keep returning to how we know. Retrodiction, tested against new data, consilience across fields, error bars, replication. The audience won't remember every fact, but they may remember your criteria for belief. And when they sprint through a dozen claims you can't possibly cover, pick one and turn it into a parable. The second law: bring the audience into a greenhouse on a cold day, hand on the glass, sun on their face. The earth is a greenhouse and energy flows. The eye? Show the imperfect wiring, the blind spot, the cephalopod, counterexample. Evolution is a tinkerer, not an engineer. Give them 2 + 2. Let them feel the answer form in their heads. There is a deeper lesson here, beyond creationism. Science is often urged to win the debate by doubling down on facts. But facts don't travel alone. They need vehicles, they need frames, faces, and friction. In the long run, science wins by being true. In the short run, under lights, it wins by being memorable. So picture another night. Same stage, same hush. The scientist goes first. Before we begin, a promise. If I make a claim, I'll show you a prediction that could have failed, and the test that could have proved me wrong. You'll also hear many claims tonight that sound persuasive. I'll help you label the techniques so you can evaluate them later. At home, without me. And along the way, I'll take you to an Arctic riverbed where a fish with wrists waited for us for 375 million years, and a telescope the size of a tennis court that reads starlight from dead suns to tell us how old our rocks are. If I do my job, you'll leave not with my conclusions, but with my way of reaching them. The clock starts. The room tilts differently. The gallop will always be tempting. It flatters our hunger for certainty and our love of theatre. But the antidote isn't to scorn the stage, it's to master it, without lying to the audience about what truth looks like when it's done slowly, carefully, and well. In court, creationism keeps losing because there's time to read the footnotes. In public, science must learn to make the footnotes sing.